Namaste, aloha, welcome again to the Bhagavad Gita class. My name is Janapati Das, and we are going to continue with reading through different verses in chapter 2, where we left off in the Bhagavad Gita, entitled the Gita of the contents of the Gita summarized. So we've been discussing a lot of different topics and different things in our past classes, so feel free, if you haven't already seen those videos, go back into my YouTube library and you may watch those at any time if you subscribe to my channel. You will also know when I am making new videos. I'd like to offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, Jagaguru Siddhaswarapananda Paramahamsa Srila Prabhupada, my dear life and soul. I ask for his mercy and his blessings upon me to be able to adequately share the meaning of the Bhagavad Gita with you today. I'd like to also offer my most humble obeisances unto my spiritual grandfather, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and also ask for his blessings. Sometimes they say that your spiritual grandfather is, just like the grandfather is much more merciful to in the sense, not really merciful, but easier, will bestow his mercy upon you freely, and his love upon you. If your grandchild is less than the father will, but that doesn't mean, of course, that our spiritual master doesn't bestow his mercy, but it may, as the grandfather is a little bit easier and more friendly and willing to give the child candy, whereas the father or mother may not be so. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual grandfather. And I would like to chant Krishna's names with you as instructed by our Guru Dev as the greatest benediction for humanity, but also the greatest service that anyone can enact in this day and age of Kali is adhering and chanting of Krishna's names. So, that being said, please join along with me. And I'm gonna Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Siddhaswarapananda Paramahamsa Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Siddhaswarapananda Paramahamsa Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gaurakaruna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Kristaya Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gaurakaruna Swarupaya Haribo. Om Gana Tamiranda Shakana Jana Shala Kala Chakshura Militama Tena Yena Mastai Tasmai Shri Godava Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my most humble obeisances unto his lotus feet. And so in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that when one is face to face with the sun, there is no longer darkness in one's eyes. So, the spiritual master, similarly the sadhu, the great saint, the great devotee of Krishna, is like the sunlight. There's analogies such as the torchlight. He brings the torchlight of knowledge. And he's even said, what is this knowledge? What is the knowledge? Is it really like, it isn't about the particulars of learning stuff, accumulating stuff in your mind. But my Gurudev, my dear Srila Prabhupada, has stated that to love Krishna is to know Krishna is to love Krishna. And it's not about the particulars. It's not about accumulating information like we do off the internet, reading so much stuff, I mean, it's okay, I'm very sort of scholarly inclined. I like to study things and read things, but that's not the reason that's not the way to know Krishna. The way to know Krishna is to love Krishna, and the way to love Krishna is to give your life and surrender unto the pure lover of Krishna who brings this knowledge to you, and serve him. Stated in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 34, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, render service unto him, and I'm paraphrasing question, serve him humbly, render service unto him, and the self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. So this is what we see unfolding in the Bhagavad Gita as it is. The Bhagavad Gita is a song of God. It is this great light that the spiritual master and Krishna bring, Lord Chaitanya bring to the darkened existence. So as we say, I was born in the darkness of ignorance. We're all born in ignorance. We're in this material world. We have no idea, absolutely. We have a completely false concept of who we are. This ahankara, of the false identity of our body and our mind. And so, similarly, in a parallel, reading from the Bhagavad Gita here, that we notice that Arjuna is experiencing this as a representation of the living entity, and Krishna is enlightening him about the reality of the spirit soul and the spirit soul's relationship with Krishna. And so we are going to continue. We had left off at text 34, and now we are continuing on text 35. Bayat ranad uparlatam mamam shante tavam maharataha yesham cha tavam bahu mato bhutva yashyashi lagyavam. Bayat, out of fear, ranat, from the battlefield, uparatam, ceased, mam shante, will consider, tvam, unto you, maharata, the greatest generals, yesham, of those who, cha, also, tvam, you, bahu mataha, in great estimation, bhutva, will become, yashyashi, will go, lagavam, decreased in value. Translation: the great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you a coward. So after Krishna has been explaining the nature of the spirit soul, he's gone back into kind of like the general role of a kshatriya, and Arjuna was no pansy. He was like the greatest warrior, one of the greatest warriors, but so were so many of these generals and people that had high esteem for Arjuna, like Bhishma and Drona, Charya, his martial teachers, Kripacharya, the different great generals that and Arjuna was feeling compassion for all these people, and Krishna saying, no, they're not gonna be like, they have highly esteemed your name, but they will think that you are a coward, because that is a Kshatriya's code. Anybody who runs away in the battle is considered a coward. It's not like they're, this very sort of weak, limped wrist attitude of like pacifism in this day and age, always being very compassionate, trying to think about, not killing these are like literally people that like didn't do anything when his wife was being stripped and humiliated them, tried to kill them, tried to poison them, tried to burn them, their home down. I mean, so many things that they had done and they had sanctioned and were okay with. And so they had all the right to be fighting these guys, even though they were great saintly people too. Lord Krishna continued to give his verdict to Arjuna. Do not think that the great generals like Duryodhana, Karna, and other contemporaries will think that you have left the battlefield out of compassion for your brothers and grandfather. They're not going to think that, okay? They will think that you have left out of fear for your life, and thus their high estimation of your personality will go to hell. 36. Avachya vadamscha bahun vadishyanti tavahi taha nindantashtava samartayam tata dukhan taram nukim. Avachya, unkind. Vadan, fabricated words. Cha, also. Bahun, many. Vadishyanti, will say. Tava, your. Ahitaha, enemies. Nindantaha, while vilifying. You know, that word vilifying, it's like comes similar to villain. You know, you're making a person look really like a villain. Like, what a ridiculous, like, horrible person. Tava, your. Samartyam, ability. Tata, thereafter. Dukha ka taram, more painful. Nu, of course. Kim, what is there? Your enemies, this is translation of 36. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you? So instead of killing justifiably killing the enemies that had done wrong to his family, to his mother, to basically everybody, and caused this war to happen, instead of then him thinking that somehow or another they're going to understand or be like, whoosh, we got out of that one, you know, it's like they're going to make fun of him. They're going to call him a a eunuch, probably, you know, just like, anyway, like a coward, like a chicken, you know, what we'd call nowadays a chicken, and make fun of it and enjoy the spoils of their kingdom while getting rid of their, you know, and basically getting away with murder, so to speak. Lord Krishna was astonished in the beginning of Arjuna's uncalled for plea for compassion, and he described his compassion as befitting the non-Aryans. Now, in so many words, he has proved his statement against Arjuna's so-called compassion. So, if you don't know, I mean, we kind of, some association of Aryan, like the Aryan race, or has been unfortunately attributed to Hitler's Third Reich and the white power movement. But Aryan actually is a word in Sanskrit. It was basically like so many things. The swastika as well was stolen from the Vedic world tradition. You can see the swastika is actually in all cultures, but it was corrupted in the twisted mind of Hitler, as well as the word as Aryan. He saw that, he took this idea that the Aryans as being an ideal race of white European blonde-haired, blue-eyed people, I guess you could say, racist. But an Aryan actually in the Vedic civilization meant a spiritually minded person. But also the Aryan race of the Vedic civilization, the true Aryan race, had their Varna system, which was the different working divisions. And the Kshatriyas were the administrative and warrior caste kings and whatnot, and they had certain duties and certain expectations. And while they were very compassionate, this kind of situation of like saying, this battle has been led up to this battle, all the diplomatic situations have been exhausted for years, and they've, you know, still have wanted to fight and not agreed to anything, you know. So it's nothing really about being compassionate. It's actually being compassionate because they were so offensive against devotees of Krishna that it was more compassionate to kill them because they were offenders. And so this is, Krishna is already stating that several times through here, that this compassion is, this lamentation is falsely applied here. So text 37. Hato va prapshashi svargam jitva va bokshashe mahim tasmad utishta kanteya yudaya kirta chayaha hataha, being killed, va, either prapshashi, you gain, svargam, the heavenly kingdom, jitva, by conquering, va, or bokshashe, you enjoy. So mahim, the world, tasmat, therefore, utishta, get up, Kaunteya, O son of Kunti. So that's another one of the titles, Kaunteya, the son of Kunti. And Kunti was actually the sister of Vasudev, right? And the aunt of Krishna. She was a great queen, a great devotee, and there's actually Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has written a book where he's taken from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which is a conversation between Krishna and Kunti. And this is a great, so Arjuna is also, they're in a royal lineage, son of Kunti, right? O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planet. So Krishna is also reminding him of his great royalty and status, that he has to remind him about these things. Either you'll be killed on battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, which was a system that the Varnashram system, the Vedic system, the great warriors, when fighting in battle as a duty, their duty would at least attain the heavenly kingdom, heavenly planets in the next life, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. So either way, you'll enjoy. Therefore, get up and fight with determination. Purport: even though there was no certainty of victory for Arjuna's side, he still had to fight for even being killed there. He could be elevated into the heavenly planets. So Krishna is kind of he's going to start layering the different kinds of paths and, the big picture that Arjuna basically put forth his so-called knowledge of, the rules and regulation, but Krishna is so much more vast. And, he can create this great Bhagavad Gita philosophical vision of everything, and at the same time wipe it away with the simple conclusion: abandon all that, and just surrender to Krishna. Just surrender to me. Don't worry about it. Surrender to Krishna. That's the great. We'll get to that into the 18th chapter. So, text 38. Shuka duke same kritva. Labha labao jaya jayao tato yudahaya yashva naivam papam apashyashi. Shuka, happiness. Sukha, like Sukha Goswami, Duke, in distress. So Sukha is happiness in distress, right? Same. Samme, in equanimity, kritva, doing so, laba, labao, both in loss and profit, jaya, jayao, both in defeat and victory, tata, thereafter, yudhava, for the sake of fighting, yashva, do fight, na, never, evam, in this way, papam, sinful reaction, avapyashi, you will gain. So translation from text 38. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by doing so you shall never incur sin. This is an interesting, where Krishna starts to develop this theme about doing your duty, doing your dharma, doing your work that you are expected to do in this life. We have this propensities. I'm not a warrior. Arjuna was aware, I have the teaching propensities. Some people have different propensities, but Krishna is telling us here to do those things without consideration of the end result, as he'll say later, an offering unto me. This is the beginning of when we get into karma yoga, which we'll break down a little bit later. But he's saying, don't consider whether there's going to be happiness or distress in this, because it said earlier in the chapter that happiness and distress are like the winter and summer seasons that kind of come and go. You're happy at some point, you're distressed at some point. It's going to come and go. It's the material happiness, material distress. Don't worry about that. Whether you gain something or whether you lose something materially. Realistically, we're gaining and losing things all the time, and ultimately we lose everything at the end of this life. Victory or defeat, he's telling them it doesn't matter whether you win or you lose in this. Don't do this for that. And you will never incur sin. This is a very important point, because this is, like I said, leading to the karma yoga concept of applying your duty in the service of Krishna will never incur karmic reactions. So we could be doing one thing. I could be a teacher or going out to work, and I'm doing it for all my pleasure. So everything I'm doing, I'm incurring sin. I'm incurring the karmic reaction by walking on bugs to my job. I'm driving over bugs, eating food that's been killed living entities, food that as maybe even vegetables that were living entities that died. But all those things that I'm doing in service of Krishna, I may be offering the food, I may be offering my services to be a teacher, even though I'm not talking about Krishna, I'm still offering it as a service to Krishna, to my Guru Dev. These kinds of things don't incur sin. Actually, it burns away sin. As we chant Krishna's names, as we apply our life in Krishna consciousness, doesn't matter whether we get what we want from it or we don't get what we want from it, as long as we're offering that, we're offering the lay at Krishna's feet. Please accept this service. I will do this even if it doesn't work out. Purport: Lord Krishna now directly says that Arjuna should fight for the sake of fighting because he desires the battle. Krishna's saying he wants the battle. He's always wanted it. So he's saying, do it because I'm asking you to do it. Bottom line. There is no consideration for happiness and distress, profit and gain, victory and defeat in the activities of Krishna consciousness. So Krishna is the source of all things. He is the source of all things. He is the point of everything, right? So why should we worry about what is the outcome of things? Because Krishna knows what the outcome is going to be. He just wants us to offer that to us. He's giving us that opportunity to offer that service, that we can actually come closer to him. Really what he wants is our love and our devotion. And that's what this Bhagavad Gita is about. That everything should be performed for the sake of Krishna is transcendental consciousness, so there's no reaction to material activities. He who acts for his own sense gratification, either in goodness or in passion, is subject to the reaction, good or bad. So you could be doing something actually, and it still has a very subtle desire for doing something good just for doing something good, in the sense of like, okay, maybe I'll do some kind of welfare activity. Well, that activity requires a certain amount of karmic reaction and it would be good. A lot of it would be good because we're helping people. So I'm not saying that it's not good to help people, but we have to remember what the focus really is. We can be good and helping people and ultimately focused on serving Krishna. And that just is a sort of default. You're doing all good just by doing that. You don't have to go out of your way to try to endeavor in some kind of goodness or some kind of moral goodness just to, because you're still going to get the reactions from it. But he has completely surrendered himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness, is no longer obliged to anyone. But he who has completely surrendered himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness is no longer obliged to anyone, nor is he a debtor to anyone, as one is in the ordinary course of activities. It is said, Devarshe Bhutapa Nirnam Pritamnam Na Kincharo Nayamri Charajan Savart Manaya Sharanam Gato Mukhanam Harijita Kartam. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th Canto, 5th chapter, 41st verse. Anyone who is completely surrendered unto Krishna, Mukunda, giving up all of their duties, is no longer a debtor, nor is he obliged to anyone, not to the demigods, not to the sages, not to the people in general, not the kinsmen, nor humanity, nor forefathers. This is a major statement because a lot of the Vedic system was, and actually a lot of traditional societies, you have obligations to demigods, you have to do certain, offerings to sages, to different people, your father, your mother, your children, and whatever. And you offer oblations to the forefathers or the ancestors. None of that is necessary by the offering to Krishna because all things are covered by that. That is the indirect hint given by Krishna to Arjuna in this verse, and the matter will be more clearly explained in the following verses. Text 39. Esha te bihitya shankye buddhir yoga tvam shrunu. Buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham parhasyashi. Esha, all these, te, unto you, abhita, described, shankya, by analytical study, buddhi, intelligence, yogi, work without fruitive results, tu, but, imam, this, shnuru, just here, buddhya, by intelligence, yukta, dovetailed, yaya, by which, partha, usanaprita, karma bandham, bondage of reaction, prahasyashi, can be released from. So let me read the translation, and I actually want to talk about a few of these words. Is really very interesting. Thus far, I have declared to you the analytical knowledge of Shankha philosophy. So Shankha Yoga. There's actually also another famous book that the teachings of why am I drawing a blank? Teachings of, it'll come back to me, Devahudi's son. I'll come back to me. Shankha Yoga. He, anyway, is an incarnation of Krishna that taught, and Bhaktivedanta wrote a book that was from the Srimad Bhagavatam, conversation between his mother, Devahudi, and him. And it's like old age, my brain is old. Anyway, I'll think about it. It'll come back to me. Now listen to the knowledge of yoga whereby one works without fruitive result. O son of Printa, when you act by such intelligence, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. So we're getting into the preliminary of Karma Yoga, which will be chapter 3 and 5. So some very interesting words. Of course, Sankhya, which is analytical study, is the study of the difference between matter and spirit and who is the owner of both. 24 elements of matter. And so it basically covers more in depth the material energy, but also includes the spiritual energy. So I wouldn't really say it's empirical science, because empirical science is full of a bunch of holes, whereas Shankha philosophy is basically derivative of Krishna's energy. So Krishna's the Bhakti Yoga, right? So it's perfect in its analysis, whereas empirical knowledge is mostly speculative. Buddhi, of course, means intelligent, and it comes from the word, Buddhi is also part of the word Buddha, who is the enlightened one, right? But Buddhi is like the spiritual intelligence that you use. Yoga, the connecting. Yukta is like connected, related to yoga, and yoga is later became an English word of yoke, which means to connect, right? So yukte is like a connection or dovetailed, and yoga is to be connected, or a type of work in spiritual knowledge. And then we have, what else is there? Karma bandham. That's an interesting. I always think of bonding, like bonding, bandham, right? The bondage of the karmic. Karma is the actions that you do. So karma bandham is the bondage is a result of the actions that we do outside of Krishna consciousness, for our own desires, basically. So, the purport. According to the Nirukti, or the Vedic dictionary, Shanka means that which describes phenomena in detail, and Shanka refers to that philosophy which describes the real nature of the soul. So, it's part of Bhakti Yoga, but it has more in depth of the material energy as well. Basically, it's the difference between matter and spirit, and who is the controller of both, right? Krishna. And yoga involves controlling the senses. Arjuna's proposal not to fight was based on sense gratification. Forgetting his prime duty, he wanted to cease fighting because he thought that by not killing his relatives, his kinsmen would be happier than by enjoying the kingdom by conquering his cousins and brothers, the son of Dhritarashtra. So it's very interesting. It says it's actually he was desiring sense gratification. We think of sense gratification, we think of like sex and eating a lot or whatever, but he was actually concerned about the welfare of the material bodies of his relatives, and he felt like he was making a judgment call of whether or not he should enjoy the kingdom according to this, doing this. So it was considered sense gratification because he would have been happy, satisfied in his mind and his senses. In both ways, the basic principles were for sense gratification: happiness derived from conquering them, and happiness derived by seeing kinsmen alive, are both on the basis of personal sense gratification. For there is a sacrifice of wisdom and duty. So, yeah, he's also saying that even conquering just to enjoy the kingdom, Krishna's making a point that it's not about that. It's not about that. It's about something higher. It's about actually serving Krishna and doing your duty without a connection or a desire for sense gratification. Happiness derived from conquering them and happiness derived by seeing kinsmen are alive are both on the basis of personal sense gratification, for there is a sacrifice of wisdom and duty, right? The duty, the karma yoga, the wisdom to know what it was for, right? Krishna therefore wanted to explain to Arjuna that by killing the body of his grandfather, he would not be killing the soul proper. And he explained that all individual persons, including the Lord himself, are eternal individuals. They were individuals in the past, and they are individuals in the present, and they will continue to remain individuals in the future, because all of them are individual souls eternally, and we simply change our bodily dress in different manners. So this was brought up earlier in the chapter. A major point to say you don't need to lament. There's nothing to lament about. There's no reason to go off to the forest, because you're not really killing these people. You're killing their bodies, and for a good cause, for the service of me. But also, everything else, right? This warrior duty, and you're going to be seen as a chicken and all that kind of stuff, right? So he's basically unraveling Arjuna's argument and basically showing the bigger picture of all this. This is amazing. So I read that. But actually we keep our individuality even after liberation from the bondage of material dress and analytical study of the soul. And the body has been very graphically explained by Lord Krishna. And this descriptive knowledge of the soul and the body from different angles of vision has been described as Sankhya. Oh, Kapila. Yeah, I knew it was going to come up there. Lord Kapila is an incarnation of Krishna. I knew it was a K. Thank you, Bhaktivedanta. All right. In terms of the Nirukti dictionary, this Shanka has nothing to do with the Shanka philosophy of the atheist Kapila. So that's been told many times by Bhaktivedanta, and that there was later an earlier Kapila Dev, who is Lord Krishna, is an incarnation, and he taught this Shanka philosophy to Devahuti, his mother. And later there was a Kapila who actually taught in a version of so-called Shanka as impersonalism or Mayavadi philosophy, which was he was an atheist and actually not the real Kapila teaching Shanka. Long before this impostor Kapila Shanka, the Shanka philosophy was expounded in the Srimad Bhagavatam by the true Lord Kapila, the incarnation of Lord Krishna, who explained it to his mother Devahuti. It is clearly explained by him in the Purusha that the Purusha, or the Supreme Lord, is active and that he creates by looking over the Prakriti. So this is going into the creation of the material energy. Krishna can create energy just by looking over the material world. This is accepted in the Vedas and in the Gita. The description in the Vedas indicate that the Lord glanced over the Prakriti, or nature, and impregnated it with atomic individual souls. All these individuals are working in the material world for sense gratification, and under the spell of material energy, they are thinking of being enjoyers. So this is stated later in the Bhagavad Gita, of course, as chapter 7. I can't remember the exact verse. I think it's 6 and 7. Earth, water, fire, air, mind, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. All these comprise my inferior material energies. This is what Krishna was saying. All the matter and the subtle energy. But beyond this, but there is a superior energy, which are the living entities, which are the same energy as me, he's saying. And they are struggling with material energy, trying to find happiness, right? I'm basically paraphrasing a little bit, but that's basically the sense of it. And so this is what is being explained here. Krishna impregnates the atomic souls who don't want to serve him and into the material world, and the material energy basically takes over. It forms karmically whatever karmic reaction you are carrying around, what kind of activities you've done. It's already shaping consistently in each life, right? So especially the human form of life, where you have a free choice to, not like other animals, to inquire. And if you use your life in an animalistic way, you'll come back as another animal. It's not like you're going to continue elevating, evolving, upward to leaving the material world. It's by your consciousness, by how your activities are done in this. And this points to what Krishna is telling Arjuna to do, basically, and telling all of us that this wealth, do your duty without attachment for me as your offering, but offer that garland at my feet, whatever that garland might be. It is clearly, okay, I read that. All these individuals are working in the material world for sense gratification. Under the spell of material energy, they are thinking of being enjoyers. This mentality is dragged to the last point of liberation when the living entity wants to become one with the Lord. This is the last snare, right? This is the last snare of Maya, or sense gratificatory illusion. So the Mayavadi philosopher, the living entity who wants to merge, has attained his spiritual level to a very high level, but that is that one thing. He's just like, I don't want to go back to Krishna. I want to become Krishna. I want to merge into this Brahma Jyoti, one light, and become all in all. So, and to do that, you have to surrender to Krishna still. This mentality, okay, so this is the last snare, okay. This is the last snare of Maya, or sense gratificatory illusion. It is only after many, many births of such sense gratificatory activities that a great soul surrenders unto Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, thereby fulfilling the search after the ultimate truth. Arjuna has already accepted Krishna as a spiritual master by surrendering unto him. Shishyateham Shadi mam tvam prapanam. Consequently, Krishna will now tell him about the working process in Buddha Yoga or Karma Yoga, or in other words, the practice of devotional service only for the sense of gratification of the Lord, Krishna. This Buddha Yoga is clearly explained in chapter 10, verse 10, as being direct communion with the Lord, who is sitting as Paramatma in everyone's heart. But such communion does not take place without devotional service. One who is therefore situated in devotional or transcendental loving service to the Lord, or in other words, in Krishna consciousness, attains to the stage of Buddha Yoga by the special grace of the Lord. The Lord says, therefore, that only to those who are always engaged in devotional service out of transcendental love does he award the pure knowledge of devotion and love. So in this day and age, it's very difficult. So it's almost kind of saying you can't have the pure love of God without having the pure love of God, and how do you get to that state if you're contaminated? Well, in this day and age of Kali Yuga, Krishna knew that it would be very difficult to do all the sacrifices and different kinds of austerities and whatnot to try to reach this point. So he came as Lord Chaitanya to inaugurate the Sankirtan Yajna, the practicing a very simple of hearing and chanting Krishna's names to purify the heart is so powerful that it draws us. It's like the sun. It draws out all the darkness. There can be no darkness in your eyes. There can be no darkness in your heart with sunlight. So the chanting of Krishna's names is Krishna. It's very wonderful. The Lord says that only those who are always engaged in devotional service out of transcendental love does he award the pure knowledge of devotion and love. In that way, the devotee can reach him easily in the ever blissful kingdom of God, and only by the mercy of Krishna and Krishna's devotee. We have no strength, we have no powerful, we are the most fallen, but Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, is the deliverer of the most fallen. I'm just going to say the Sanskrit, but then I've forgotten it again. My brain. Patita Pavana, that's it. Patita Pavana. Lord Chaitanya is the deliverer of the most fallen, and we are the most fallen, and we beg, and we pray, and we that we may have the mercy of our spiritual master upon us, and the mercy of Krishna and Lord Chaitanya upon us, our heart, that we may taste even just a drop of, because we live in the desert of the material life. We are completely lost and face down in the sand, trying to eat the sand for its whatever, or we're like the camel trying to bite the thorns of the thorn bush and tasting our own blood. There's so many analogies of it, right? In this way, the devotee can reach him easily in the ever blissful kingdom of love. And it is, put kingdom of God. And to know God is to love God, as Srila Prabhupada said. Thus, the Buddha Yoga mentioned in this verse is the devotional service of the Lord, and the word Shanka mentioned herein has nothing to do with the atheistic Shanka Yoga enunciated by the impostor Kapila. One should not therefore misunderstand that the Shanka Yoga mentioned herein has any connection with the atheistic Shanka. Nor did that philosophy have any influence during that time, nor would Lord Krishna care to mention such godless philosophical speculations. So if you haven't read the Srimad Bhagavatam, that's a great one, but it's such a very big volume. If you want to read about the teachings of Lord Kapila, I recommend Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's book, The Teachings of Lord Kapila. He has it. It's like the teachings of Queen Kuti, same kind of thing, taken out of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and with lots of purports by His Divine Grace about that. So it's a very wonderful book. Real Shankar philosophy is described by Lord Kapila in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but even that Shankar has nothing to do with the current topics. Here, Shankar means the analytical description of the body and the soul. Lord Krishna made an analytical description of the soul just to bring Arjuna to the point of buddhi or bhakti yoga. Therefore, Lord Krishna's Shankar and Lord Kapila's Shankar, as described in the Bhagavatam, are one and the same. They are all bhakti yoga. He said, therefore, that only the less intelligent class of men make a distinction between Shankar yoga and bhakti yoga. Karma yoga is actually bhakti yoga too. And said, even less intelligent people try to break up the different yogas, and I'm practicing karma yoga, or I'm practicing Raja yoga, or I'm practicing just different this yoga or that yoga, hatha yoga, but it all really is the same thing. It culminates in bhakti yoga. Of course, atheistic Shankar yoga has nothing to do with bhakti yoga, the atheistic version. Yet the unintelligent claim that the atheistic Shankar yoga is referred to in the Bhagavad Gita. Nope, it's not. One should therefore understand that buddhi yoga means to work in Krishna consciousness, in the full bliss and knowledge of devotional service. One who works, so that's real intelligence. You're connecting with Krishna using your spiritual intelligence, because we have certain kinds of intelligence in the material intelligence, but if that buddhi or that is contaminated by material energy, our intelligence it's not very intelligent. After all, we make very bad choices, and so we have to rely on our spiritual intelligence, and that is, of course, by the mercy of our spiritual master Krishna, we will achieve that. One who works for the satisfaction of the Lord only, however difficult such work may be, is working under the principles of buddhi yoga and finds himself always in transcendental bliss. So things that we do in this life, even when it's done in devotional service or service to our spiritual master, or we're doing it, trying to do it, a lot of times it's very, very difficult and very unpleasant, and we don't always want to do it, and we fight, and we, just like anything, it's kind of like, it's difficult to do, and Arjuna had to fight this battle with millions of people, and this intense battle. So you think you got it bad? Arjuna had to do this battle, which was, he may possibly die, get wounded and shot full of arrows and whatnot. It's like crazy. This is a crazy war. By such transcendental engagement, one achieves all transcendental qualities automatically by the grace of the Lord, and thus his liberation is complete in itself without his making extraneous endeavors to acquire knowledge. So this application, the service of spiritual master, brings us naturally to love God. It's not that we have to accumulate or acquire knowledge. We can read the whole Bhagavad Gita. If we're not going to apply it, we're not going to use it. We're just letting it sit up there, and we can, teach people about how great, whatever, then what's the point? This is not like the YouTube influencer or something, who's the most popular, who knows the most stuff. To love Krishna is to know Krishna. It's like, that's what it said. It's very simple. We should be doing this in the service of Krishna, out of love for a spiritual master, for Krishna, and apply it diligently as best as we can. There is much difference between the work in Krishna consciousness and the work for fruit of results. Definitely very different. Although it may seem on the surface to be doing the same thing, it's completely different, night and day. Especially in the matter of sense gratification for achieving results in terms of family or material happiness, buddhi yoga is therefore the transcendental quality of work that we perform. Really nice, and that was a very long purport, and we're going to keep going, and it's going to lay out more of this work that we do. It's a preliminary to chapter 3, which is entitled Karma Yoga. So this is really wonderful. He's he's unveiling it as it's supposed to be unveiled. You know, it's just, he just starts from the very outer surface of like, why are you thinking this? Why are you lamenting these things? Why, you know, why are you not acting like a warrior? Why are you acting like a chicken? You know, the people, the generals and stuff will make fun of you. And then it's like, you're not your body, you're not, you know, and then it's just like, and as you open the onion, you know, or the orange, you unpeel it, you know, you start to see the greater philosophy, and it's just perfect, beautifully lined out as we go along. So that's all for today. Thank you very much. Namaste.